This is the early edition, a curated weekday guide to major news and developments over the past 24 hours, curated by Weronika Galka and read by an automated voice. Published August 25, 2025 on Just Security, an essential resource for those shaping a just and secure world. Here's today's news. Russia-Ukraine war, U.S. and international response. Since late spring 2025, the Pentagon has been blocking Ukraine from using U.S. missiles to strike targets inside Russia, according to U.S. officials. The halt resulted from the introduction of a high-level procedure developed by the DoD Undersecretary for Policy Elbridge Colby that gives Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth the final say on Kyiv's requests to fire U.S.-made weapons or weapons that rely on U.S. intelligence to strike inside Russia. The officials said that Ukraine's request to use U.S.-made long-range Army tactical missile systems on a target in Russia has been rejected on at least one occasion. Alexander Ward, Michael R. Gordon, and Lara Seligman report for The Wall Street Journal. President Trump on Friday said that he would know which way he's going on the Russia-Ukraine conflict in 2 weeks, a shift from his earlier projection of confidence that the war between the countries could be brought to an end quickly amid stalled peace talks momentum. Kit Mara reports for CNN. Canada backs Ukraine's calls for robust security guarantees and does not rule out sending troops under a peacekeeping framework, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney told Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during a visit to Kyiv yesterday. Max Hunder reports for Reuters. Russia-Ukraine war. Putin is ready to meet with Zelensky when the agenda is ready for a summit, and this agenda is not ready at all, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov told NBC News on Friday, adding that no meeting is planned between the Russian and Ukrainian leaders. Trump last week suggested that Putin and Zelensky had agreed to meet and that he was making preparations for their imminent summit. Freddie Clayton reports. Tyler Pager and Ashley Ahn report for The New York Times. Israel-Hamas war. An Israeli strike on Khan Yunis's Nasser hospital killed 19 people today, including 4 journalists, the head of Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry's records department said. AP News, Reuters, and Al Jazeera confirmed their journalists and freelancers were killed in the attack. Wafa Sharafa, Sami Magdi, and Sam Metz report for AP News. Wafa Sharafa and Melanie Lidman report for AP News. The IDF's chief of staff, Lieutenant Eyal Zamir, has reportedly said that there is a deal on the table for the remaining hostages in Gaza that the Israeli military had brought about the conditions for, according to Israel's Channel 13 news outlet. Channel 13 News reports that Zamir added that the deal is now in Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's hands. Israel's Security Cabinet is expected to discuss the latest ceasefire and hostage deal proposal tomorrow. Yolande Nell and Ruth Comerford report for BBC News. Israeli forces yesterday opened fire on a crowd traveling through a military zone south of Gaza City to reach a Gaza Humanitarian Foundation food distribution point, killing 4 Palestinian aid seekers, the Al-Auda hospital, and witnesses said. Wafa Sharafa, Sami Magdi, and Sam Metz report for AP News. Israeli planes and tanks pounded the buildings and homes on the eastern and northern outskirts of Gaza City over the weekend, according to residents. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz yesterday vowed to press on with the offensive on the city, where conditions of famine were confirmed on Friday. Nidal al-Mughrabi and Lily Bayer report for Reuters. Other global developments. Israel yesterday struck the Yemeni capital Sana'a in retaliation for the Houthi rebels' firing of missiles towards Israel, killing 6 people and wounding 86 others, according to a tally published by a Houthi health official on social media. Reuters reports. The Rapid Support Forces paramilitary yesterday killed at least 13 people in Sudan's Darfur region, with those killed being women, children, or elderly, the Sudan Doctors Network medical group said. The group alleged the attack was ethnically motivated. Sami Magdi reports for AP News. Syria's first post-Assad parliamentary election, scheduled for September, will be delayed in the southern province of Sweda and two other provinces due to security concerns, Syria's Sana news agency reported yesterday, citing the Damascus Electoral Commission. According to Sana's report, the election will be held in the provinces once there is a safe environment to do so, with the seats allocated to the three provinces remaining vacant in the meantime. Reuters reports. Federalization of D.C. policing. The Defense Department has been planning a military deployment to Chicago that would have parallels to Trump's deployment of the National Guard and active duty Marines to Los Angeles for weeks, the Washington Post reports, citing officials. Trump on Friday said that he planned to target Chicago and New York next in the federal crackdown on crime, adding that the White House is willing to bring in the regular military if it has to. The Chicago mayor's office on Saturday said it was working with Illinois' governor and Cook County to evaluate legal options to protect the people of Chicago from unconstitutional federal overreach. Dan Lameth reports. Luke Broadwater and Julie Bosman report for the New York Times. Shaquille Brewster, Selena Guevara, and Marlene Lenthang report for NBC News. The National Guard members deployed to Washington, D.C., started carrying firearms yesterday, according to a spokesperson for the Joint Task Force carrying out the mission. In a statement, the task force said that under the military's force should be used as a last resort and solely in response to an imminent threat of death or serious bodily harm. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth last week authorized the troops to begin carrying weapons. Jonathan J. Cooper, Leah Askarinam, and Konstantin Toropin report for AP News. Zachary Cohen reports for CNN. Trump yesterday threatened to send troops to Baltimore, describing the city as out of control and crime-ridden in response to an invitation by Maryland Governor Wes Moore to join city officials to walk the streets and discuss public safety in September. Daniel Wu reports for The Washington Post. U.S. domestic developments. The Trump administration is in the very early stages of an ongoing investigation into Trump's former National Security Advisor John Bolton, Vice President J.D. Vance said on Friday, while denying that the probe was retribution for Bolton's criticism of Trump. The information that provided the basis for a court warrant for the FBI's Friday search of Bolton's home reportedly involved the mishandling of classified material by Bolton and was based on intelligence collected overseas by the CIA, sources suggest. Commenting on the developments, the Wall Street Journal's editorial board opined that it is hard to see the raid as anything other than vindictive. The real offender here is a president who seems to think he can use the powers of his office to run vendettas. Alexandra Marquez reports for NBC News. Julian E. Barnes reports for The New York Times. The overwhelming majority of documents on Jeffrey Epstein that the Justice Department shared with the House Oversight Committee in response to a subpoena had already been publicly released, according to Representative Robert Garcia, Democrat of California, the top Democrat on the panel. Garcia said that only 3% of the files received by the committee contained new information, adding that there is no excuse for incomplete disclosures. A Republican spokesperson for the committee said that more documents are forthcoming from the DOJ. Katie Edmondson reports for The New York Times. The Republican-controlled Texas State Senate on Saturday voted to approve a new election map designed to help Republicans retain their narrow U.S. House majority in the 2026 midterms, sending the law to Governor Greg Abbott for his signature. Patrick Marley reports for The Washington Post. U.S. foreign developments. The French Foreign Ministry yesterday announced it had summoned U.S. Ambassador Charles Kushner in response to Kushner's publication of an open letter accusing French President Emmanuel Macron of failing to combat a dramatic rise of anti-Semitism in France. The ministry described Kushner's letter as containing unacceptable allegations that violate the international law duty not to interfere in the internal affairs of states. Zoya Sheftalovich reports for Politico. U.S. Ambassador to Turkey and Special Envoy for Syria Thomas Barak yesterday met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel to discuss Syria and Lebanon, according to Israeli and U.S. officials. Barak also met with Israel's Minister for Strategic Affairs Ron Dermer and Defense Minister Israel Katz, the sources added. Barak Ravid reports for Axios. Canada will drop some of its retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods from September 1st, while keeping levies on cars, steel, and aluminium, Prime Minister Mark Carney said on Friday. Carney made the announcement a day after speaking with Trump for the first time since the two countries missed Trump's deadline to reach a trade agreement. Nadine Youssef reports for BBC News. U.S. immigration developments. The number of people in immigration detention is at a record high, soaring by more than 50% since Trump took office, according to an Axios review of the government data. The official numbers are likely to be an undercount, a staff attorney at the Amica Center for Immigrant Rights suggested. Brittany Gibson and Russell Contreras report. Kilmar Abrego Garcia's attorneys on Saturday alleged the Justice Department is pressuring him to accept a guilty plea by threatening to deport Abrego Garcia to Uganda. Ben Johansson and Kyle Cheney report for Politico. Trump administration actions. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on Friday fired the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, Air Force Lieutenant General Jeffrey Kruse, Vice Admiral Nancy LaCour, who was Chief of the Navy Reserve, and Rear Admiral Jamie Sands, who oversaw Naval Special Warfare Command, according to Pentagon officials and a senator. Lawmakers were told that Hegseth fired Jenna Kruse over a loss of confidence in the senior officer, two congressional officials said. The Pentagon has not provided an explanation for LaCour and Sands' firings. The Defense Intelligence Agency in June drafted a preliminary report that contradicted Trump's claim that U.S. strikes obliterated Iran's nuclear sites. Julian E. Barnes and Eric Schmidt report for the New York Times. Deputy Treasury Secretary Michael Falkender left the Trump administration last week after frustrating Trump and feuding with then IRS Commissioner Billy Long, sources say. According to the sources, Trump became convinced that Falkender was too aligned with the views of former Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and insufficiently aligned with Trump's vision. Brian Schwartz, Alexander Ward, and Richard Rubin report for the Wall Street Journal. The Homeland Security Department told a nonprofit watchdog group it has not maintained text message data among top officials since April 9th in response to public records requests, the American Oversight nonprofit said. A senior DHS official yesterday said the agency maintains a record of text messages without commenting on why the department told the nonprofit otherwise while denying the record's requests. Min-Ho Kim reports for the New York Times. The Justice Department last month told Congress it would not defend a legal challenge to a decades-old grant program for colleges with large numbers of Hispanic students, according to a letter released on Friday. The notice claims that the program provides an unconstitutional advantage based on race or ethnicity, citing a 2023 Supreme Court decision which said that outright racial balancing is patently unconstitutional. Colin Binkley and Jocelyn Gecker report for AP News. The IRS is reversing its layoff plans and offering jobs back to some of its employees who took DOJ's fork-in-the-road deferred resignation offer ahead of the tax season, according to an IRS employee. In an email to IRS managers, the agency's human capital officers cited potential gap in mission-critical expertise as the rationale for the move. Natalie Alms and Eric Katz report for the government executive. Emily Peck reports for Axios. Health and Human Services Department officials on Friday confirmed the agency is ending its recognition of unions for thousands of its employees and is reclaiming office space and equipment previously used for union activities. Mike Stabu reports for AP News. Trump administration litigation. A federal judge on Friday temporarily blocked several parts of the Trump administration's new health insurance exchange enrollment and eligibility rules days before they were due to take effect. The judge ruled that the order is in the public interest, as the blocked rules were likely contrary to federal law and eliminating coverage for an estimated 1.8 million people will drive up costs for the insured and lead to a significant decrease in the quality of care for the newly uninsured, as well as strain city-run healthcare budgets. Devan Cole and Tammy Luby report for CNN. In a Friday order, a federal judge extended the scope of an order blocking the Trump administration from denying funding to dozens of sanctuary cities that limit local law enforcement participation in immigration enforcement. Zach Montague reports for the New York Times. Thank you for listening to Just Security's Early Edition today, August 25th, 2025. If you enjoy listening, Just Security's analytic articles are also available in audio form on the justsecurity.org website. To stay up to date on Just Security's analysis of law, policy, and current events, go to justsecurity.org, subscribe to Just Security on Substack, and follow us on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Facebook, and Threads. In case you missed it, last week on Just Security. Unlocking Justice, a Policy Roadmap for Victims of Spyware by Nadine Farid Johnson. Collection, Just Security's coverage of Trump administration executive actions by Just Security. The APA authorizes universal stays of agency action under 5 U.S.C. Section 705 by Jordan Asher.